Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and today I'm doing a bit of a mini updated review of Divinus from Lucky Duck Games. This is a mini updated review. Long story short, let's just go into Divinus, my general history with it, my thoughts and opinions, all those things. Divinus is a legacy game from Lucky Duck Games. I played the prototype way back when they first had it on crowdfunding. I played the first, I believe it was only 2 scenarios at the time. I'd have to watch my review to double check, but I think they only had the first 2 scenarios at the time. I played through those, I gave my thoughts and opinions, and then when it finally delivered, I've gone through it more. I've played 6 scenarios now. There are 12 in the base game plus expansion content. I have not played through the expansion content, and I do not plan on finishing the base game, which should give you some spoilers to my opinions so far. But I also want to make sure that you know that my opinion is based off of the first 6 games of Divinus, not the full experience. So if something changes in the last 6 games, so be it. I no longer feel the need to push through to get to those last 6 games, which again is already kind of telling you my opinion so far. But Divinus is a legacy game. A legacy game means that as you play through the game, bits and pieces change through the game. Part of the reason why the game is not set up on the table is because I can't really show you most of the stuff because there's stickers on a whole bunch of different things. I'll also say you could check out my original review if you want to see the components there. Honestly, I'd recommend checking out a full how to play where they show you all the components. If you really want to get a sense of the components, I can show you the back of the box. There's not a lot to see over here, but there's a board, there's tiles, you're placing tiles out. That's the core idea of the game, and it is app integrated. So I guess let's do that. Let's go ahead and tell you about the general flow of the game so you have a general idea of what's going on. Starting off with just how the first scenarios operate. I won't be going into the things that unlock in any way, shape, or form because I want to keep that as spoiler-free as possible for you. This should be a spoiler-free review of Divinus, of the first 6 episodes of Divinus. Divinus is a tile-laying game. It's a legacy game where you're going to be changing things as you play through it. You're going to be permanently impacting the game. It's also app-assisted, which is a big part of the game because you'll be scanning various things during the game, and that's going to remember which players interacted with which things, what did they do, what did they explore, which stickers did you place down on the map. The game's going to remember, the app is going to remember what's happening in the gameplay. You play as these gods in the game, and you have this overarching impact to this longer storyline. But the main gameplay kind of comes down to drafting tiles from the board. Well, rolling dice. You'll be rolling dice, which will let you draft tiles from the board and then place them out as you kind of explore the story. Each episode, each game is going to give you these little mini goals that you're trying to achieve, specific things you're trying to do within the tile laying system, whether it's various symbols, connection points, different types of things you're trying to achieve just through the way you place those tiles. That gives you how you win. So you have this how you win of do certain things, have certain symbols. That's how you win a scenario. Although the winning is a little bit more complicated, we'll talk about that as well when I get to my thoughts. Outside of that, the game is going to evolve, adding rules in each scenario. You'll be able to do things like modifying your dice, placing stickers onto the board, small things like that. Again, I'm trying to give you only the things you'll really touch upon in the first scenario, so I'm really trying not to spoil anything that will come, but it's a tile-laying game where you modify the board, modify the components, and go through a series of 12 linked stories as you explore the world that Divinus has to offer. That's the overall idea of it. There's really not a ton more to get into it. If you've played games like Carcassonne, where you place tiles down, trying to match various terrain types, you're going to be doing that in Divinus too. This just has a lot more other things happening as far as the story that is going on as you play through the game, and the components that are being modified, and the rules that are being added. That's as short as I can get to kind of cover the general idea of Divinus. I played the first 2 scenarios. This is where we dive into my opinion. I played the first 2 scenarios when I covered the prototype. And the first 2 scenarios, I believe I said at the time, I don't remember if I gave it a 3 out of 5 or a 3.5 out of 5. I don't remember exactly what my rating was. But I remember that I was optimistic yet not quite sold. I was like, this is not bad. The first 2 scenarios do give you like this sense of progress as you go through it. And it's fun to place out tiles and to kind of build a board and have these goals you're working towards. That part's fun. It's fun to roll dice and then use those dice to draft various things. It's fun to modify your dice. You're taking into account different things as you go through these scenarios, and it's kind of fun. But it's also very much on the lighter side, so it does kind of come down to what gets added throughout the game. And keep in mind, that might still be true for the last 6 scenarios, but I can't push myself, I don't choose to push myself to power through to get to the fun part of the game. Divinus isn't bad, it's just not particularly compelling, and there are things along the way that make me think I'd rather play a lot of other tile laying games or other legacy games if I'm trying to play a game for the sake of enjoying the experience, as opposed to being okay with the experience. I'm okay with the experience of Divinus. You place tiles, you have goals, that's not a bad time. But the idea of powering through 12 games of not a bad time, that doesn't seem like, that's not why I play board games. I play board games because I want to dive into it. Or I should even really take that back to a certain extent. Sometimes I play games just for the sake of seeing something new that's out there. I just want to know what's in the board game space, not just from a professional stance, but because I like board games. And so to me, exploring a new board game is always worth it to a degree. So when I play a game that's like, a 3 out of 5, that doesn't bother me because I got to try something new. You ever watch a movie just because you wanted to knock it off your list? You wanted to understand, okay, great, I saw the trailer, it looked interesting, I watched the movie, it was forgettable. Do you regret that? Maybe you do. I don't. Maybe I'm a completionist at heart in life in general. I'm trying to figure out if this review is about Divinus or just my personality at this point. But when I play fine games, that's totally okay with me. I consider that kind of fun in the pursuit of exploring what other games are out there. The reason I'm harping on this point is because that goes out the window when the fine game requires you to play it a lot and doesn't ever make it amazing. That's where I am with Divinus so far. And I can't say it doesn't ever make it amazing. I haven't played the second half of the game, so maybe it gets better as you go through it. But where Divinus for me is right now is it's a fine game, but the sense of exploration, of finding a new game, of being able to say that I played and tried something else, that's gone after I play the first game or two of this. And at that point, what I'm left with is a mediocre tile-laying game. And it is mediocre so far. It's mediocre in the sense that there's not a particularly compelling experience going on as you place these tiles. If anything, maybe the game is trying to hook you through the narrative. And I can't say that I find the narrative that interesting. It's one of those games that, because I'm playing with others, I make the time to read everything out loud. But, I don't care enough about the story that's evolving. I don't care enough about the sense of the clashing between the gods and how I factor into it. It's not immersing me into the story, despite me liking the lore, the theme of this game. I like that, but the story just doesn't have me invested. The ability to track what's going on is often unclear. The amount of times, it took a few games before we kind of realized, the actual scoring and who's winning. We'd frequently finish the scenario and be like, well, did you win? You got that point for exploring that. We placed these out. Who actually won? That part isn't even really clear as far as how the app tracks everything for you. You can find it. It's just we finished the first few games trying to figure out who was doing well, and it was really not clear to us as the players how things had actually unfolded, which is not great for a game that's this simple in the actual mechanics of it. The stickering of various components or the interruption to adjust things, that didn't bother me a lot. There's certainly some mid-game adjustments to components, things you have to deal with, but I've dealt with legacy games that in my opinion had it far worse. That for me, Divinus is fine in that regard. It's not bad, it's not particularly amazing. I prefer legacy games where you do almost all the stuff in between scenarios so that the gameplay doesn't get slowed down. But I would say in the case of Divinus, it wasn't impactful enough to the mid-game experience that I was bothered by it. There does exist mid-game stickering, there does exist in-between game rules and stickering, but for me that part was never really an issue. The issue to me was it's an app-assisted game where the app didn't add to my experience, it only took away. Don't get me wrong, there's an element of memory, of you placed down this sticker, so later you're going to interact with it, and that will have something going on. But I never got to the point where I cared. I never got to the point where I cared that the app remembered something because it didn't enhance my experience. The things the app was doing felt like it contributed to the narrative part of the experience that didn't make me particularly overly invested in the experience. And so I'm trying to be not specific about things that get unlocked. I will say that so far from the first 6 episodes, the things that get unlocked didn't. The first episode or two, there's definitely some things that are more impactful to the way the game changes. Not making it particularly complicated, but there are things and decision space. If you play the difference between episode 1 and episode 3, that I think is a decent enough difference as far as the decision space. If you just played episode 1, you might be able to say, yes, it's too light as it is. There's really not a lot going on. There's very little choices you have in episode 1. By the time you get to episode 2 already, that choice opens up. There is more weight to what you're trying to do, but not a significant amount. It's just definitely more than episode 1, but it doesn't evolve significantly. At its core, it is a tile-laying game that you are not particularly challenged with the decisions you make. I'm really not invested in the story that is happening. I do have to play with an app that slows down the experience for me while not making the experience better. And overall, the entire time, it is just a fine game. I never disliked a single session of Divinus. I only disliked the opportunity to have spent my time playing something else. That's why I'm not finishing Divinus at this point. That's why I'm not going to dive into the remaining 6 games from the base game and then expansion content and all that. Not because the game isn't fun, but because there's other games I would rather spend my time on. And 6 episodes in, I don't feel I have the confidence to believe that the experience is going to evolve to the point where I feel those games are worth spending that time on. I think Divinus has a place. I think it is a very light legacy game. If you like legacy games like, I don't know, Zombie Kids or My City, if you like that, and I love My City to be clear, and I enjoy Zombie Kids, but they each have different places for me. I think that if you are seeking out lighter legacy games to play on a family basis, there's not a ton of options out there. And I don't think Divinus is bad. I just think it kind of depends on what else you have that you're looking for. I'd recommend checking out My City, My Island even. That's complicated. I'd recommend checking out My City. And enjoying that. And if you're looking for more things that give you and your family or your friends the opportunity to dive into an evolving structure that's going to last for 12 games plus expansion content, then Divinus will provide that. And specifically if you like lighter tile-laying games, if you are pulled in by the narrative experience, if you don't mind app-integrated games, all of those things can combine to make Divinus an experience that you might enjoy. So it's not that I really don't recommend this game, it's that I have a lot of caveats as to who the target audience is. For me, I'm going to leave it at a 3 out of 5 rating-wise. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. It's a little complicated because I'm trying to rate the experience I'm having versus my frustration at feeling the need to play a lot more of that experience. Usually when I have a game that's a 3 out of 5, I play it twice, I figure it's not for me, and I move on from it. In the case of Divinus, I played it more to try to see if it would get better for me, and it didn't. So there's a bit more frustration mixed into that kind of review, if that makes sense. That's why it's a weird tangent of a review, my personalities, my experience with Divinus. Ultimately, I think by now, if you've made it this far into the review, you understand where Divinus might be able to work for you, and where it definitely hasn't worked for me. I hope that's enough to help you in some way make a decision as far as whether you're interested in picking up this game. I would like to both emphasize that I have never had a bad time playing Divinus, and it has never felt worth diving further into the experience. It keeps feeling... No, that's not keeps. The first few games had me feeling like there was a progress and an evolution where it might get better, and the more I played it, the more I just was less invested in what was happening. In any case, then until next time, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co. I hope you found this helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.